Every successful business evolves. And to keep up, you need a bank relationship that evolves too. When you collaborate with KeyBank, you don't get one-size-fits-all solutions. Our expansive team of experts across industry verticals wouldn't be here if you did. Always ready with bespoke solutions for your biggest challenges and opportunities. We know all businesses are different, and that's why we approach business differently. Reimagine business as usual. KeyBank opens doors. Learn more at key.com/B2B.
Welcome to Marvelous Disney with Aaron Adams, the podcast that discusses the most recent doings at one of the more dynamic divisions of the Walt Disney Company, which is, of course, Marvel Entertainment. This is entertainment writer Jim Hill, and my co-host, the amazing Aaron Adams, and I are recording this week's episode on Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. Aaron, I don't know if you saw the news that broke, now it's 5 hours ago, but the big news, not just Hulk big, we're talking Thanos big, maybe Galactus big. And by the way, I had no idea till just tonight that Galactus was once a human-sized figure. Did you know about this?
No, I missed that in my Galactus schooling as a kid. I always thought he was huge. That was it.
Well, same thing here. But I was pulling together tonight's episode. I found out that this devourer of worlds was once a space explorer called Galen from the planet Ta, who gained cosmic abilities by passing too close to a star. And evidently, this tale unfolded over 2 issues of the Thor comic book, issue 168 back in July of 1969, and then issue 169, which was published in October of that same year. Script by Stan Lee, ink by Jack Kirby. Here's the log line. Thor, always honorable, is deemed worthy to learn the origin of Galactus. Out of mortal death comes a birth of cosmic energy. The history of Galactus, as told by Galactus, revealed to Marvel readers at long last. And you know from just the way that's written, that's Stan.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, nobody could hype quite like Stan.
Although it would have been great if they would have tied it into, what is that Monty Python skit where the guy goes to the restaurant and eats and eats and eats, and then the waiter offers just one thin mint wafer to finish it off. And boom, Galactus.
yeah, Mr. Creosote. Yes,
there you go. Thank you.
Actually, I have been to Meals with Friends. It's just one wafer thin mint. Yeah. But anyway, if you actually wanted to own originals of these particular comic books, and you're lucky enough to actually find someone who would be willing to sell them to you, be prepared to spend, depending on the grade of the book, $500 to $700 a piece. So anyway, back to the news. Today, visual effects artists for Marvel Studios voted unanimously to unionize. Not only that, but these visual effects artists agreed to join forces with the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, the IATSE. ITES. Well, you work in the business, Aaron. You know that these are, what is it? I was surprised to see the number of members of this union, 170,000.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that go into making movies besides just Tom Cruise and a director.
This is true, but this is 170,000 behind-the-scenes entertainment workers, and these are folks who work at live events. These are folks, as you mentioned, who work on making motion pictures and television, also work trade shows throughout the U.S. and Canada. And anyway, more than 50 workers at Marvel Studios in L.A., New York, and Atlanta. As you recall, this story got underway back on March 8th when they signed authorization cards with the National Labor Relations Board. The thing that concerns folks at Disney is 20 days later, on August 28th, the visual effects crew at Walt Disney Studios indicated their desire to follow their brothers over at Marvel Studios and unionize by filing paperwork again with the National Labor Relations Board. And this moved fast, Aaron. The visual effects artists officially voted on unionization Monday this week, September 11th. Ballots were counted on Tuesday, September 12th. And now, Wednesday, September 13th, here we are. And you got to assume Bob Iger, who already is not looking great for the way that Disney has been handling the writer's strike and the actors strike. This can't be good to hear that. Let's just get.
I've heard that Disney put out a statement saying, guys, we simply cannot afford these outrageous rates. And it was released through their PR firm that's supposed to handle their bad publicity that's only working at, $10,000 a billable hour. And it's like, yeah, so far, how much have you paid the PR firm to make you not look bad? And could that money have just gone to the writers and the VFX artists and just called it a day?
I know you're trying to be funny here, but actually the AMPTSE, the producers union, did in fact hire a crisis PR team.
I know they did, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like, yes, the money that is being lost. In fact, I saw something the other day that basically put it out that what the writers are asking for basically amounts to $47 million a year. That's it.
Right. And the percentage of that is incredibly, versus what the studios make together, combined. Correct. And then you take, if you were to say, hey, Jim, can I borrow $47 million? You'd be like, get the hell out of here, sucker. Right? But I mean, if you're talking about all of the movie studios in America and their combined total income, that is a very, very minute fraction of what they've got coming in, right?
Totally. And to have this visual effects story walk out, because remember that we've been hearing about terrible working conditions, 18-hour days, weeks at a time where people working for 7 days straight, working through meal breaks, sleeping under their desks to make deadlines on projects like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So these folks decided to unionize. Not a surprise.
I was going to just add in real quick. I remember watching the behind-the-scenes features of Peter Jackson's King Kong. And there was a bit in there where they had created a jungle, and then they had blue screen, and so you would shoot, through the leaves and the trees and the blue screen in the background. And Peter had said at one point they didn't have enough blue screen, so if you pan too far this way, you get like the actual studio, wall.
Yep.
And he's like, and that's okay, because we got VFX guys that can just paint that stuff out. It'll take them, a bunch of hours. But and then he kind of joked about the fact that you have to paint out between these leaves and vines the back wall. And it was just a joke. But in my mind, I was like, you jerk. Because there's a person that actually has to go through, and your camera's moving, right? So it's not like a static shot where you can just do it one time and be done with it. You've got to do it frame by frame by frame by frame by frame. And if you would have just planned a little bit better and had a little bit more blue wall, you would have saved maybe like 50 man hours that could have been put instead of towards painting out your lack of preparation. And I mean, Peter's well prepped, right? It's just this one little goof that he made, but it cost him a lot of man hours. And it's just like, if you just would have prepped a little bit better, if you would have had a little bit more foresight. Now, with the thing like the strike coming up, they've been working 18-hour days, 6-7 days a week, stuff like that. I'm hoping that this will help people like Kevin Feige, who are always pushing to the very last second to plus the movie, plus the movie, plus the movie. Yep. I think that attitude's going to have to change just a little bit. And guys, you need to have your plan, and you're pooping a group, and you have to execute the plan, and you can't get 90% way through your charted course and then decide you need a massive course correction, because we just can't do that. Or you got to pay through the nose, one or the other. And I know that Disney's not going to want to pay through the nose, so they're going to be like, you know what, maybe we should just plan a little bit better in the future.
And again, you wonder, taking the 30,000-foot view and all of this news we've heard lately about, productions being pushed back. I mean, for example, Agatha,
new name now, new name.
I actually, all right, House of Harkness? No, Darkhold Diary. Darkhold Diary.
Yeah,
there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
But suddenly, you got to wonder, okay, that being pushed off to be a Halloween event for 2024, is this really about the strike, or maybe is it exactly what you just said? That maybe, all right, if we're going to actually deliver visual effects wise, and maybe will allow our effects artists to go home and nap and eat and bathe. Maybe that's what's going on here.
I also think if it's a witchy kind of show, I think it just deserves to be in an October slot.
You're not wrong.
The October is, when all of that stuff happens. So, I mean, thematically it fits. I don't know if there are any threads tied elsewhere into the MCU where it needs to land chronologically in a specific space, but we did have movies in the past that swap places, and so I think Kevin Feige was like, yeah, this happens before that, but it's okay when you're watching it at home. You put it in the right order, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Okay. All right, well, again, we're going to obviously watch this story, folks, especially to see what happens with the Disney visual effects artists, because they've signed their cards and announced their intention to vote. So let's see what happens. But anyway, more news coming up shortly. But first, news portion of Marvelous Disney is brought to you by Touring Plan's own travel agency. And if you're thinking of heading down to Walt Disney World in the not-so-distant future, why not let these obviously knowledgeable folks help you plan? Have you book a vacation package to that resort? They'll even toss in a subscription to Touring Plans for free. Seriously, though, if you're planning on heading to Central Florida anytime soon, Touring Plans' own travel agency, obviously the smartest way to go. So please check them out at touringplans.com/travel. Okay, just talking a moment ago about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. My copy of the art of book for that Sam Raimi film arrived here at the house earlier today. And Aaron, when we were pre-gaming, you mentioned you'd heard, I think you described it as a wild-ass rumor about Mr. Raimi.
Yeah. I think a lot of fans are eager to have something happen because we got that Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield team up in the last Spider-Man movie. It's like, wouldn't it be great if they got brought back for Secret Wars? And the idea of, we're getting Hugh Jackman back for Wolverine and Patrick Stewart. The feel is that we're going to end up with a whole lot of previous Marvel movie stars from different eras that may possibly show up in this big, huge Avengers team-up movie. So then if you speculate, well, if we're going to have all of that, why not have someone like Sam Raimi direct it? Because, he was there for the Spider-Man original movies with Tobey. He came back for Doctor Strange. He's obviously a very talented director that's, earned his clout in Hollywood by delivering, consistently good stuff. So it doesn't seem like an overly risky move to invite him. I just don't know yet, because Sam is a specific flavor, right? I mean, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he did great with Doctor Strange. I've got no qualms about his directing on that at all. It's just, I think the Russos did such a great job with Endgame and Infinity War, and they have made such a loud proclamation of they would do anything to direct Secret Wars. It's their dream job, and it's like, come on, they've earned the bone to be thrown at them, so throw them the bone. If that's their dream job, go for it.
I'm sure you've seen the news over the past week to 10 days where a number of the deals that various filmmakers with studios have, housekeeping deals, production development deals, with the notion of whatever you develop, we get first stab at. A lot of these deals have been suspended because obviously, again, these are studios going, look, we have no actors in the building. We have no writers in the building. What's the point of you having a housekeeping deal with us if we can't make movies? So we're going to hold this for a while. The notion is, just going to pause it. And
so let me ask you this. If you pause a thing like that, you've got a deal. Let's say you had an exclusive deal for 4 years. Well, if you pause it for 6 months, does that mean the new deal has been extended by that 6 months that you paused it? Because if you eat it up, then you're kind of just getting screwed out of that 6 months. It's not being paused. It's just not being used.
Actually, there's a phrase, and I'm blanking it, but you're not wrong. The notion is that we are pausing the physical deal, but we are extending it for the length of the strike. The notion
Okay.
is, just like, look, we're going to stop paying you during the strike, but as soon as the strike's over, we're back in business.
Okay.
So
That seems fair then.
yeah,
No,
but
no
it's,
real gripe over that.
It's like people like Mindy Kaling, but it's also folks like J.J. Abrams, who've supposedly, very quietly been told, look, we're going to pause the deal. But, as soon as we're back in business. But we had talked on a recent show about that Avengers Vault store that was going to be built at Disney's California Adventure, where the exit through the gift shop for the King Thanos attraction was supposed to be built. And I think you and I were whining back then to the thing, oh, great, we get the gift shop that we're supposed to exit through, but not the ride itself.
Well, that was your complaint. I was just happy they were using the building.
Well, this is true.
So-
This is true because I'm a whiny baby man. In fact, I'm
Well, no, you're trained. They've really trained you very well to expect if there's a ride, there should be at the exit a gift shop. So if you have a gift shop, you damn well expect there to be a ride in front of it.
Speaking of, again, I apologize, but Jim Schull and I, who have been working with Len on Disney Unpacked, we just this week we are tackling the topic of, a weird question, but what was the very first ride at a Disney theme park where people were forced to exit through the gift shop? And, the weird thing is it may go back as far as the late 50s. Not to blow the research we're doing, but yeah, they have been finding interesting ways to get into your wallet for quite some time. Anyway, speaking of the King Thanos ride, just this past weekend at the the Destination D23 event at the Disney Contemporary Hotel, we got a little more info about this attraction. The ride experience, the vehicle is supposed to be inspired by Tony Stark's time suit, using Xandarian jump points and Wakandan technology. These multi-passenger vehicles will have the ability to transport visitors to California Adventure to remote worlds in a matter of moments to help Marvel superheroes save the day. These ride vehicles will combine portal technology and flight capability to allow them to maneuver through the sky, giving Marvel superheroes and the guests they recruit to help them to deploy wherever they are needed. And I don't know if you saw the piece of concept art, but it literally shows this moment where your ride vehicle is, in fact, like 100 feet in the air above the Avengers headquarters building where the gift shop is going to be located. Okay, speaking of the concept art, it shows a vehicle that holds 3 rows of passengers, 4 passengers to each row, so it looks like the ride vehicle will have 12-person capacity. This new ride will blend large-scale built environments and immersive multimedia to create a ride experience that, again, will allow guests to jump between worlds, even between realities, as they battle King Thanos. And again, the conceit of King Thanos is this is the version of that character that somehow survived, not only survived the Battle of the Avengers compound in upstate New York. This is the one who defeated Tony Stark, got the gauntlet, and is now in charge of the multiverse. Now, downside, we don't have a name for this ride. We have no news on when construction might begin or when this ambitious Marvel-based ride might open.
I hope they have a snack stand right next to it that they pull from it called, right? Infinity Cones. Wasn't that from Thor Ragnarok? They did that gag, The Village?
And there is that's actually another reason I am so looking forward to the art of book for the Taika Waititi book next week, because that riff on New Valhalla? No.
New Asgard.
New Asgard.
Yeah.
Just how Disney theme parky that was.
Right.
I really want to see that in the real world. And yes,
I think that's Taika's subversive humor of like, let's make fun of Disney, but don't tell them.
And speaking of Taika, he's got a brand new movie out, Next Goal Wins, which...
Yeah, the trailer for that looks hilarious.
Okay.
It's a soccer team, and they just cannot even score a goal. Like, they put the guy, like, right up to the net. He kicks the ball, it hits the post, and bounces in his face, and like, they just cannot score. And, Taika's, I guess, the coach. And he's got to get the team to be able to score at least one freaking goal before the end of the movie, please. That's it. So
okay.
it looks very funny.
Taika Waititi at this point is very, I'm very much in Philip J. Fry mode when I hear Taika's doing something. He said, "Shut up and take my money."
Yep.
Speaking of things I'm very much looking forward to, Deadpool 3, which again got paused when the actors went out. But Sean Levy, who is directing Deadpool 3, was actually up in Canada last week at the Toronto International Film Festival, where he was picking up the inaugural Norman Jewison Award. And he got asked, he was working the carpet there, about what was going on with that movie. And he made it sound like a lot of fun. And he started out by saying, well, look, like the rest of the industry, or at least a large swath of it, we're paused. We're halfway through filming Deadpool 3, co-starring Wolverine. It was a joy every day, and that chemistry between Ryan and Hugh Jackman is as relentless as we all hoped it would be. He got asked whether this movie would continue in the style and the tone, and that's a polite way of saying R-rated raunchy humor, that was established by Tim Miller, the director of the original Deadpool, and David Leitch, who was director of Deadpool 2, and Levy told Deadline, "I wasn't going to mess with the DNA of this franchise. Our movie is raw, audacious, very R-rated, and we went to great lengths to not shoot it on sound stages with digital environments. And we wanted something that felt grounded, real. You put Hugh Jackman in his most iconic character alongside, Ryan Reynolds in his most iconic character. To be honest, this film is more of a descendant of Midnight Run and 48 Hours and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, more a descendant of Airplane. So, just hearing those three movies, Midnight Run, 48 Hours, and Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, like, oh. So, now, as for that outfit that you and I were commenting on, the yellow and blue Wolverine outfit, that we saw Hugh Jackman wearing on set, Levy told EW, it's like the rest of the world, I've waited 2 decades to see Wolverine in a whole movie with Deadpool, and I didn't know if this was our last shot at Wolverine on screen. So I was going to make damn sure that we got the old yellow and blue just once, and that we got it right. And speaking of getting it right, that again, they wanted that outfit to look exactly like the way Wolverine looked in X-Men, the animated series from the 90s.
Yep.
And Levy goes on to say, what really helped here is that I'm making a movie within the MCU, so I have access to an army of the nerdiest nerds available on a Marvel project.
Well, I hope at some point they go indoors so he can rip off the sleeves of that damn thing and get it really comic accurate. They did a good job. They got it really close, and I understand the reasoning for, Hugh Jackman's health. No, we're not going to make any qualms about that. But, get inside, get him out of the sun, rip off them sleeves, and then watch all the fanboys just go, finally.
There we go. Now, the irony, the sheer irony of this is those same sorts of folks, the nerdiest of the nerds, also work over at Warner's. They were on board with that Batgirl movie, which, brought back Michael Keaton's version of Batman from the Tim Burton movies, but obviously that story didn't end as happily as well as we hope Deadpool 3 will. By the way, more on that movie and the very first attempt to make a Fantastic Four film in a moment.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
We've talked previously about Adel El Arbari and Bilal Falal. They're the directors of Batgirl, that DC film at Warner Brothers, which had Leslie Grace in the title role, the one that got killed, this past summer by Zaslav for largely bookkeeping reasons.
I hate to say this, but I think that was probably a smart move. And it's a real stupid, basic reason. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, obviously, you've got things like The Rock and Black Adam that didn't do quite as well.
Right.
You got The Flash that didn't do quite as well. With actors that we're very, very familiar with and I thought eager to see on screen. Mm-hmm. Batgirl is like, B-grade Batman. It's like usually everybody's all about Batman. Batgirl, it's like, yeah, kind of cool. Okay, tied to Batman, but not quite Batman. All right. But then you've got a star that isn't like The Rock famous in name. And I just don't know if that would have pulled any money in theaters to make its money back. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really think that there was a lot going against it just from super basic, stupid Hollywood math. Of it's not a known star, it's not the greatest of all of the characters, and how much are we going to spend on it, and how much are we going to get back? That was a dicey call, and I think at the end of the day, as unfortunate as it is, because I know everybody put their heart and soul into it. Nobody goes in to make a bad movie. Nobody.
No, true.
Right.
True.
So I know that everyone gave it all their best, but at the end of the day, it's like business wise, that may have been one of the actual good decisions, I hate to say.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me just deviate a little bit here. You've seen The Flash at this point, right?
Actually, I haven't, and this is one of those things. I don't care enough to watch it until it's free.
Okay. Well, I caught it the other night on Max, and they get to these much hyped scenes where you get to see George Reeves as Superman. You get to see Christopher Reeve as Superman. Yeah. You get to see Nicolas Cage as Superman and Adam West as Batman and the like. And the thing is, these scenes are so over-designed that, I mean, one of the key elements of filmmaking is show me where I'm supposed to be looking, frame the shot in such a way that I know what I'm supposed to be looking at, what the emotional impact of that, I'm being given information that moves me forward in the story. And this is the thing, the scenes are so visually busy that the impact of, that's George Reeves, that's Christopher Reeves, that's Nicolas Cage, the things that should land, there's
Lost in the blur of all of the zebras running. It's like, what the hell is all that? I felt the same way about like the Transformers movies and some other things where it's just a whole bunch of shiny stuff moving really fast. And I'm like, what the hell is all of this chaos? Okay.
And the weird thing is, there is a wonderful emotional story that Ezra Miller, in fact, the quiet, slowest, least affected, visual effect driven moments in the movies are the ones that really land, the ones that, that just suck you in. And it's one of these things where if it was all of these effects and the cost of making this movie that ultimately made Zaslav think, no, we're not going to do the same thing again with Batgirl. We're not going to throw good money after bad, put that thing in the vault. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a heartbreaker because it's just sort of like, there's a part of me that thinks, if somebody had approached that very same scene with a third of that visual effects budget, but knew what they were doing, it could have been so much more effective. But all right. Anyway, back to Adele and Bilal, and again talking about when they saw The Flash. It said, "Look, we watched it and we were sad. I mean, we love director Andy Muschietti and his sister Barbara, who produced the movie, but we watched it. We felt that our movie should have been part of this whole thing. I mean, we didn't get the chance to show Batgirl to the world and let an audience judge for themselves, because the audience is really our ultimate boss and should have been the deciders of if something is good or bad or whether something should be seen or not." And Adele went on to say, our movie was very different than The Flash. That it was more grounded, more of Tim Burton's Gotham City. And what especially disappointed El Albari and Falal was that people didn't get to see the performance that they got out of Michael Keaton as he reprised his role of Batman from those Tim Burton movies. And Bilal went on to say, "I felt like a kid when I was working on the set, on the set working with Keaton. I totally forgot I was directing." And Adele goes on to say, it's the biggest disappointment of our careers. As a fanboy, just to be in the presence of Keaton as Batman, it was just a privilege and an honor. So it's a bittersweet feeling. And which brings me to a Marvel movie that was supposed to stay in the vault, but Aaron, you actually own a copy of this, right? The Fantastic Four movie from '94, right?
So wait a minute. You know damn well about the Marvel PR team and their snipers, and you're just going to let out that I've got contraband. You know, Jim.
Okay.
Oh, my neck. Ow, what? I'm so sleepy. I'm going to...
Well, all right, folks, it's going to be a slower show than expected. All right, I guess I could also mention that I myself have seen this movie because my friend Arlen Miller, who has copies of everything that he's not supposed to, doing. By the way, he's in Poinciana, Florida. If the Marvel snipers, want to head out, you'll find him at home.
Get him off of the Indianapolis headquarters quick.
But yeah, now, so you've seen this. This is the Roger Corman movie.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did say earlier nobody sets out to make a bad movie, and apparently I was wrong. This is the one exception where they're just like, how much did they have? $4 million? Was that it?
$1 million. $1 million.
Okay,
$1
one square million in a little tiny pile to light on fire. Okay. And this was done to keep the rights active for a studio?
No. Very good. All right, so you know the backstory. All right, and by the way, if you want to look at a really in-depth take on it, there is a wonderful 2015 documentary, Doomed: The Untold Story of Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. Seek that out. In fact, the irony is it has so much better production values than Roger Corman's the actual movie they're talking about. Okay, so but here's how it was explained to me. Okay, so 1983, German producer Bernd Eichenreger. He's one of the gentlemen who was involved in the hugely successful Never-Ending Story. He meets with Stan Lee, and he wants the film rights to both The Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer. Stan had been trying to sell the rights to these characters to big Hollywood studios like Warner Brothers and Columbia, but nobody bid. And in fact, what that kind of fascinates me, because we've talked about on the show how it was Universal that grabbed the rights to both the Hulk and Namor, but not the Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer. That just seems weird to me.
Well, back then it was kind of like a smorgasbord, and it's like out of 3,000 characters, which ones do you want? And they're like, cherry pick that one and that one, because they are probably just the hottest in that moment when they were buying it.
Interesting point. Okay, so 1983, Iger grabs the rights to these characters, but now it's a 10-year deal, and we're coming up in 1992. The option is running out, and Einriger has a choice. He has to get a film in production or risk losing the rights. And he initially approaches Lloyd Kaufman, the guy behind the Toxic Avenger movies. It turns out that Lloyd is longtime friends with Stan Lee. And it's like, no, I am not going to rush a movie into production, particularly of the Fantastic Four, just to make sure that, the rights don't revert to Marvel.
But I'm just imagining a Fantastic Four movie in the Toxie universe, because I used to watch those movies as a kid.
They are kind of cool.
I can only, it would almost border on really fantastic. No pun intended, in Fantastic Four.
It could.
Yeah, in that bad 80s sort of way. Gosh, we missed out on a real cherry there, I think. Damn. Okay, carry on. Go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, this German filmmaker then meets with Roger Corman. Corman was famous for shooting movies, I want to say the original Little Shop of Horrors, that was a week. I mean, fast and cheap, but they always made money. So he went to Corman with a deal to the effect of, you have to make a Fantastic Four movie for $1 million, which, by the way, was, like 5 times the highest budget that Corman typically worked with on a movie. But it had to be done ridiculously quickly. Again, it had to be completed by January of 1993. So Corman takes the deal and then casts the film very quickly. It's supposed to get underway in late December of 1992.
That's a couple of weeks from 1993.
There we go. And the cast, what's interesting, again, if you watch Doomed, they reached out to the actual cast, which features folks like Jay Underwood and Michael Bailey Smith. And they talk about, we kind of knew something was up. I mean, first of all, it's being shot at the Venice soundstage, the Venice, California soundstages of New Horizon, which to call them a warehouse is being kind. It's like, we're shooting a movie here. Yes, shut up. More to the point, they shot through Christmas. I mean, it wasn't a question of, we're pausing for the holidays. No, we are shooting. We will get this done. And it was a 22-day long shoot. They got it done January of 93. They met the conditions of the contract, and Stan Lee, but especially during this period at Marvel, was perfectly happy to take a check from anybody. If there's enough zeros on it, we can make a deal here. But even Stan had heard about how bad, from the rushes and all that, the Fantastic Four film looked. So he got asked about it in 93, and he flat out said, look, I'm not expecting too much. But he wanted to put a positive spin on it, because that they were already talking with 20th Century Fox about the X-Men movies. And so he was like, look, this is the last movie to be made that we here at Marvel will have no control over. Our lawyers just gave the rights to Roger Corman to do that movie. There will be no other projects like that. Everything after this, we are doing ourselves. And then there was a much hyped premiere for charity but again, was held at that great filmmaking capital of the world, Minnesota, at the Mall of America. But this is January of 94.
January in Minnesota.
January in Minnesota.
Lovely. Thank you. I can't wait to go in my 17 layers of parka. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So at that point, after this premiere, and again, I'd love to find out exactly how much of the money from this premiere actually made it to a charity, and if so, what charity. The theatrical release of Fantastic Four is halted. Now, 20th Century Fox, as we mentioned, now had the rights to the X-Men films, and their thinking was, we don't want a horrible Marvel movie out there tainting the brand. So what they did is they reached out to the German producer and basically paid him. It's like, how much is it going to take that this film never sees the light of day?
Here's a gallon of gasoline in a match and $10,000. No, $50,000, $100,000.
There we go. And into the vault it went, but it didn't stay there. So I'm assuming that you got a hold of this, you went to a collector's show, somebody was working a table, because that's where I saw it a lot. Somebody would have a VHS, a box full of VHSs, and there would be the Roger Corman, Fantastic Four. How did it wander into your life?
Working at a video store.
Oh, that's right. Right.
Someone brought it in for like a trade-in, you know, and it wouldn't ring up because it wasn't legit. And I was like, hey, man, store can't give you any money for this because this ain't a real movie. However, I'll give you $10 for it right now. If the store were to give you anything for it, you'd be lucky to get 50 cents. And he's like, yeah, I'll take $10. And I'm like, here you go, brother. No receipts, no questions. This is a personal transaction between you and me. Right? You got that? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, all right, dude, walk out the door. And that's how it came into the collection.
Okay. Yeah. So you've watched it all the way through, right?
Oh, yeah. And actually, to be fair to it, it's for only $1 million. It looks really good for $1 million movie. Like, I can't fathom how. I mean, they had to make costumes. They had to, make a Dr. Doom that looked like it wasn't tinfoil. For the masks. So I mean, they had some craftsmanship to be able to say it looks just like a hair above cosplay as far as the costumes go, because they didn't have a whole lot of money or time to do anything super wonderful with it. So what they got out of that little squeeze of the orange was, it's not some bad juice. If they would have had more time, more money, and someone was actually putting their real effort into it, not to just, make a deal contract stay longer in your domain. If they actually would have put, real time, money, and effort into it, they probably could have made something that was watchable. But like Johnny Storm, you got to make the dude on fire. And I don't know if they were doing like rotoscoping back in that day to get the orange effects through that or whatever. But I was like, yeah, for $1 million, it's better what you could do because you didn't have the computer technology.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I mean, it did take some artists to do some craft to make that happen. So it was decent.
But at the same time, what was interesting is that I remember watching it, and there's that exchange at the end of Bride of Frankenstein where, the monster is shooing, his creator out of the building. It's like, go, you say we belong dead. And it just sort of like, that was the thing of me watching the Fantastic Four. It was just sort of like, okay, yeah, I understand why this went in the vault. And again, but to bring this full circle, what you said at the top of the show, I don't think anybody deliberately goes into a project to make a bad movie. But in this sort of situation where it's like, we have $1 million, we have a deliberately short production schedule, we have to deliver it by this date, in order to retain the rights. They were so handicapped. They were just in that circumstance. There was just no way they could deliver a really good movie.
And I think if you watch the Doomed documentary, all of the actors had just the tiniest feeling of betrayal of like, they're like, oh, we're going to be in a Marvel movie. I'm playing Mr. Fantastic. Oh, my goodness. And then they get there and they're like, oh, this is the costume? Wait a minute. What do you mean you've only got 22 days? We're shooting over Christmas. What the hell? And then they see the final result and they're like, oh, this isn't, like you were so excited and proud. And then you realize that you're just kind of in a thing for legal reasons, not to create art as an artist. And then you're like, ugh. And then it gets shelved entirely and you don't even get the satisfaction of anyone even knowing that you're attached to it. And you're like, that sucks. That could have been a springboard for my career, and it turned into a death trap full of freaking alligators. Nom, 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 nom. Thanks, guys.
Wow. Now that's a slogan I know I'm not going to hear on 32nd Street. That's not something that makes me think, oh, I need to get that product. Though. Oh, speaking of which, though, again, Aaron has his wonderful Patreon project, the 32nd Street, which shines a somewhat cynical eye, spotlight on Madison Avenue. What are you up to this week?
Well, this week we interview Eric Hersey, who talks about building websites.
I know that guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he talks about search engine optimization and stuff. And I've spent about 30 years now doing advertising and writing it and producing it, but I don't know a damn thing about websites, how they work, and how do you get ranked and stuff like that. And right now in the media landscape, when you want to talk about I got to get my company name out there, they want to buy a bundle of things. They want radio, they want television, they want web, they want their social media presence, and that's 5 different things that you got to manage there. And so there's just so much now when it comes to getting your brand branded out there, that sometimes you just need to go, I don't do that. I need an expert. Eric Hersey, please talk about web design and SEO. And it was a fantastic hour-long conversation. So very good episode this week on 32nd Street.
Can't wait to listen. Eric is a super sharp guy, and we have very much benefited from our association with him, especially with the Disney Unpacked project. Again, very first video series, which, by the way, Aaron has done yeoman's work editing this thing. We're finally going to get it out the door on October 1st, but this is the thing we're doing with Jim Schul. Veteran Imagineer, spent 30 years working at the company, working in some of your very favorite attractions at the park, things like Rock and Roller Coaster and Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. We're going to launch that show. I want to say first Sunday of October. I don't think we officially announced that yet. But if you don't want to miss out, head on over to Disney Unpacked on YouTube and subscribe. And before that happens, if you're looking for something to listen to, we have some other podcasts here at the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, where we have, of course, Disney Dish, which I do with Len Testa. Likewise, we have Fine Tuning, which I do with Drew Taylor, who, by the way, has his own outside project, the wonderful Light the Fuse, which he does with Charles Hood, which is the official Mission Impossible podcast. And just this week, we had a brand new episode of Looking at Lucasfilm with Brian Gahn, where keeping up to speed on Ahsoka. And you've been watching that, Aaron, right? Or...
Oh, yeah. Space whales ahoy.
Okay. By the way, that would be a lovely Twitter handle. All right. Speaking of social media, where can we find you these days?
Still on X at Azaprod, Azaprod. Something to look out for in my near future on Twitter. I'm going to be attending Animaniacs live in concert with Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche.
Are you really? Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's going to be October 5th here in Carmel, Indiana. And I have reached out to Mr. Paulson asking if I can bring my microphone box that has been signed by Jim Cummings, otherwise known as Tigger and Winnie the Pooh and other voices.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And they were just on a podcast together like a day or two ago. So I was like, hey, can I bring my mic box that Jim signed and have you sign it as well, please? And so that's my holy grail for the next couple of weeks, is see if I can get Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulson to sign my microphone box signed by Jim Cummings. Then I'll have almost all of the Animaniacs cast.
Wow. And what about Tress? I
don't think she's going to be there for it. They've got Randy Rogel is going to be on piano. And then I'm pretty sure it's just Rob and Maurice that are going to be singing songs, doing behind-the-scenes stories of how the characters and songs were developed, and then some video clips.
That sounds amazing. Holy cow.
Yeah, very excited for it. Dude, we're in like row G center stage. Yeah. Yeah, very excited.
All right, what a great time. Now, speaking of social media, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, X, and Instagram is Jim Hill Media, and over on Facebook. One final thing here, folks. If you could do Aaron and I a favor, if you get over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review, well, not just the show you're listening to right now, Marvelous Disney, but also 32nd Street, that would be incredibly helpful. Likewise, if you really like what you heard here tonight, head over to Bandcamp and subscribe. But man, I got to look to see if they're coming to our area. I mean, I've been lucky enough in the past to interview Maurice, and he has so many great stories.
Did you make him do the winter peas?
You're going to ask about the peas. You're going to ask about the peas. Yeah.
Orson Welles.
And the weird thing of it is it was such a deep cut because think about it. It's only folks in your world who shared the original, recording of Orson going off on the director for that it wasn't Bird's Eye's Frozen Peas or something like that. And
yep.
But then, I mean, that the notion that turned that into this piece of animation and now this infamous performance by Maurice as Orson Welles.
Like, I seriously going to smuggle in a recorder and try and tape the show, and if I get to meet either one of them, I am going to ask Maurice, all right, do the snow peas bit, damn it.
Okay, all right. You and I will have to talk off air about this. But okay, anyway, that's going to do it for this week, folks. Thanks for listening, and Aaron and I will be back soon.